All right.
Let's get it.
We're good. We are live.
Finally.
Let's get it, Fruit.
You guilty people. The people got a message. We gonna build this movement.
Yeah.
Right? We gonna build this movement.
Yeah.
We gonna build this movement.
Yeah.
Come through, Justin. Come through.
We gonna build this movement.
What we gonna build, Justin?
You and you and you
And you and you and you.
We gonna build this movement.
We gonna build this movement. Give it up for Justin Pearson, y'all.
Yeah.
We gonna build this movement. Bring them claps in, Fruit.
Come on, man. Let's do it like this.
Hey!
This week in White Supremacy live. The White Privilege Conference in sunny Mesa, Arizona.
Oh wow, so I can't even do the intro, huh?
No, because we don't trust you with them things. This nigga be fucking up all the
Took
titles.
the intro. Hey.
You know it. That's such a light-skinned thing. You know.
Right now we're making a reverse Oreo and she's upset.
No, I was originally over there, and I had an Oreo joke. They took it back from me.
Miracle said that she wanted to sit in between us so she could lend us some melanin.
Yeah.
For the
Miracle
TV.
is a proud colorist and a vowed colorist.
But welcome
Who
to.
do I represent, Farouk? Who do I represent?
You represent for. You know what? I'm not even repeating that garbage.
Miracle says.
I'll walk off this set right now.
Miracle says she represents for the black people who do not have to show their parents on Instagram to show that they are indeed black. That's who she represents for.
I see you.
Spoken like a proud colorist.
Welcome to This Week in White Supremacy, live at the White Privilege Conference in Mesa, Arizona. Give it up for yourselves.
Let's go.
We have a live audience here. Hey! And we're excited to be here.
Yep.
We flew in and we had some good food since we've been here.
Yes.
Fellowship and love at the White Privilege Conference. So with that being said,
Large up mangoes on Main Street, man.
Yes.
my name is Jasiri X. I am co-founder and CEO of One Hood Media. And to my immediate left,
It's your girl, Miracle Big Blessing with a big blessing, having fun in Arizona.
Miracle Jones Esquire. Put respect on her name. And my brother. Although you're kind of far away from me, but
I am, but it's all good.
Go ahead.
It's all good.
Who are you?
It is Emmy Award winning.
yes.
Oh, come on.
Treble NLS. Never like Supremacy, Next Level Shaman. Youngest but most mature person on the show.
Trouble is the youngest, but without Trouble, we just go totally off the rails. Believe me, we've done a podcast without Trouble, and it was not good.
The most
the whole
disappointing episode of the series' career.
And my brother.
The revolutionary but gorgeous.
Okay.
The MWA, the Muslim with an attitude.
Yup.
Sugarfoot Saeed. You know, the Regal Roadman, the Ramadan Roadman.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Sweeter Man, Saeed. Saeed with the shades, the Supreme Asiatic Intelligently Divine. All that. Come on.
Yep.
It's me.
The Ramadan.
Which
The
wonder?
Ramadan.
Which Wonder Twin are you?
I'm the waffle colored Wonder Twin. Let's go.
So we are happy to be here. We're happy to get busy, and we're happy to share with you our show. We just recently got picked up by Free Speech TV, so you can either watch us live on YouTube every Wednesday at 6, or
Facebook.com/One Hood Media.
yes, or YouTube.com/One Media, or you could watch us on Free Speech TV, which is in 40 million households
Thursdays
nationwide.
at 9 p.m.
Thursdays at 9 p.m.
Check your local listings, because I don't know if that's specific.
Is that a light skin thing where you're like finishing my sentences? Is that
I mean, we're just here, bro. We're just here.
we are here.
You know, I was only called you once this time.
You were referred to. That's rare.
Yeah, it only once, yeah.
Normally, if I'm not around, people will call him
Jasiri.
Jasiri. Yes,
All the time.
That happened one time.
Yeah.
Because light-skinned people favor each other.
Is that what it is?
Is
All
that what
light skinned
it is?
people look alike? Is that
Uh-oh.
to you, Miracle? Is that
Yeah,
how you
I mean,
feel?
yeah, of
Is that how
course
you
to
see
you.
us?
You know,
Of course to you.
only see people if you have a certain shade of melanin. I'm just joking.
She said, I only see color.
Oh wow! She said the rest of y'all are ghosts. And so it is interesting to see, because to me, and I'll pass it to you all to get your take on it. It seems like now both the Justins and Gloria come back to the house with really like the people behind them with more power, more visibility, a stronger and louder voice to actually hopefully begin to push forward the changes that we need to see instituted in Tennessee. I'm going to come to you, Miracle. Do you think that this newfound celebrity is going to help them to get their agenda pushed forward? Or do you think that the Republicans in the Tennessee House will look for other, more creative ways to punish them?
No, I think the power of the people is always going to be greater than the people in power. But you also have to remember Tennessee has a conservative supermajority.
Can you say that again? The first part?
The power of the people are greater than the people in power.
Oh, yeah, that's a bomb drop.
And so Tennessee does have a supermajority that the conservatives are in charge. But I think because there's been so much scrutiny on Tennessee, that they are going to do some soft launch of legislation just because people have been going up and looking up tax records, going into like personal infidelity, going like into all these votes. And I don't think people were prepared for the smoke for these legislatures. A lot of times people, because they have power, forget that they're people too. And so now they're trying to CYA. And so I think we'll see some common ground, but 3 people cannot override a 70-person legislature. Right. So I think it's important to keep pushing, but you have to be realistic and understand that change is going to not happen overnight, because white supremacy is not going to just let people live the lives they need.
True. Trouble Farouk, y'all have any comments?
My comment is that them being reinstated was a very necessary next level slap in the face to white supremacy.
That's right.
Show them that like you can't silence us. You feel me? Especially when we have the people backing us. And I'm excited to see what the Justins are able to do now that they've proven that they have the people on their side, you know?
Absolutely. Farouk?
To paraphrase the illustrious brother Minister Jasiri X, welcome to the Whitest House. You know what I mean? It's great to see this reinstatement happen, specifically because like these levels of Congress and Senate, you know, across the states have pretty much been bastardized in like political theater, right? There's been so much happening with this, so to see them come back, and I agree with you, Justin should have came back in the dashiki. He should have came back with like, you know, when CB4, like, I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blackity black, and I'm black, y'all. That's how he should have came back.
Like if he had an airbrush shirt with his own face on the front of it,
that shit would have been fire.
Came back in some Jordan 1s.
Man, listen.
So now,
that's Black Air Force One energy.
Oh, Black Air Force One.
He definitely should have came through the Black Air Force Ones.
The Black Air Forces. Let him know he's ready to fight.
Come on, bro. The low tops, man.
I will say that I think it's always great for people who are marginalized to see themselves from leaders and activists and organizers. I hope that this inspires more black men to not only see themselves in the fight for democracy, but to also get involved. I don't think this was some conspiracy theory to force black men to understand that they are needed in the movement. I think we saw from the justice that these were 2 black men who have been involved for at least like 5 years, like fighting and organizing for the freedom of all people. One of the reasons I love Justin Pearson is he always centers queer and marginalized people, even when he's preaching.
Yes.
And I love the fact that we have 2 dark-skinned, heterosexual, passing black men leading the fight for equity and equality and not being divisive. So I do hope this is a blueprint for black men to follow. But I don't know if it's going to inspire them. Like, I think we're still recovering from what happened in Georgia.
Yeah.
To be honest, but I do think there are a lot of organizations who are really fighting for black men, but you also have to remember in the South, a lot of black men are disenfranchised,
right?
Because of their criminal records.
That is true.
That's something that's a little different than up here up north. So I hope that this ends sparking a passion, but it's going to be a long road ahead.
This is why we need to abolish this whole system. Like, this shit can't be fixed.
Hey, you know what would be great? It would be great if we could like have some type of juxtaposition. Where, like, let's say we had video of some white people and they were like, can we set the stage? Actually beating and harming police officers. Man, it would be great to see if there was a video that exists of white people charging into a federal building, taking, flag poles and beating police officers,
sitting on the walls,
killing police officers, right, defecating on the wall. And then we could see, like, what did they get charged with? And so, I mean, we've seen January 6th defendants who have actually beat police officers.
A police officer was murdered.
He was killed, yes. But they're getting 5 years, 6 years, 7 years.
The longest
8 years.
sentence is 10, right?
I don't even know if a 10-year sentence.
14 years?
14 years is the longest sentence. For actually severely harming police officers.
For staging a coup.
Right, on camera, staging a coup.
Treason, sedition, murder of a police officer, shitting on the walls of the Capitol.
Yes.
They shit on the walls, man.
Yes, they did. Well, I don't know if they actually. I think they did. They put it in their hand and do it, and then maybe smeared it.
We don't need to get into the semantics.
That's even worse.
We don't need the semantics. We know it was there. We're good.
But they don't know, Miracle. I still need to figure out how it happened.
We know what happened.
Yes, I don't know if I want to figure it out. But think about it. If you could probably take 10 to 17 to 12. Like if you put all their sentences together. You might take 15 January 6th protests and not get 70 years. Yeah. And this is one man who he didn't run into no federal building.
No.
He didn't go into a congressperson's office and take something out of their office and put his feet up, right?
He just had some extra phlegm in his mouth he's trying to get out, man. That's it. That's it, man. You know, maybe his allergies was kicking up that day. I don't know, man.
Next level spit.
Man, come on. Let's go, bro.
Well, this just reminds me, in law school, my criminal law professor used to say that you're never going to have a good victim when you're talking about state overreach and violence because people will always use someone who has a bad track record in order to uphold these horrific sentences. And so you can tell they're like, oh, this man is a domestic violence abuser. And people are like, that still does not dictate 70 years in prison.
Right.
For this instant offense.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's very interesting while we're seeing this juxtaposition of like these officers behaving badly, these white supremacists like doing violent shit, and then people being, oh, you're black, you're going to get the maximum out. And it's something we have to always be mindful of as well.
True. And I think like one of the reasons why we started to do the show was because you know, there are people still out there that like deny the existence of white supremacy and racism, right? And so it's like we need these extreme examples in many cases just to say like, look at what's happening right now and how different it is when black people go inside of the criminal justice system. A story that just recently came out was in Atlanta. In the Fulton County jail, an Atlanta man was found dead in a jail cell that was infested by bed bugs and insects, right? So again, let's set the stage, right? We're talking about in Atlanta, a jail. Right now in Atlanta, they're attempting to spend $90 million to build a state-of-the-art training facility for police officers and all type of officers that people have dubbed, right, Cop City. And so I don't know if you all are familiar about Cop City in Atlanta. What's happening, you had forest defenders down there defending. One of the forest defenders, Torta, a trans activist, was killed by police. By all accounts, the police shot, I guess it was friendly fire. The police started shooting and then Torta was shot. We still haven't got the whole ramifications of what's happening. But you can spend $90 million for this pristine, state-of-the-art, brand new cop facility, but your own jail is so filthy and vile that a man dies inside of the jail because of the insects infestation in his cell. Miracle, what the hell's going on in Atlanta, Georgia?
I think it's very important to note that the sheriff of Fulton County is black, the mayor is black, and the district attorney is black. And the ACLU also released a report that said that in Fulton County, the majority of people, so like almost 3,000, are there pre-trial because they are taking advantage of COVID protections that are basically did away with the speedy trial option. And so it's by design that this jail is overcrowded, infested. The people are malnourished. And it's very important to understand that black people can uphold white supremacy.
1,000%.
And that black people will enact white supremacy on poor black and working class black people. And that is what we're what we're seeing in the city of Atlanta. That $90 million could have gone to health care, housing, affordable care, doing something with the maternal mortality rate, actually getting people jobs, investing in communities. And no, they decided, hey, we're going to go after some rappers, some black people, and we're literally going to let people languish in jail. And that's what's happening in the city of Atlanta. So it's very important that when we're talking about white supremacy, we're also plugged into the idea that we're going to have to fight it in all of its forms.
Absolutely. Before I come to you, Farouk, I just want to say, the man's name was LaShawn Thompson. He was 35 years old. He was arrested for a misdemeanor simple battery in Atlanta last summer. So although it was a misdemeanor simple battery, like you said, he's been in Allegheny County Jail. He was placed in the psychiatric wing. The Fulton County Jail. He was placed in the psychiatric wing after officials determined he was mentally ill. So once again, that $90 million could be spent to actually deal with people that are having mental health problems and help, nourish them and care for them, instead of waiting for folks to make mistakes and then housing them. And basically, they said his body was covered with bed bugs at the time he was found unresponsive. Farouk?
It said here that the first responder refused to administer CPR because she was freaked out because he was in such a disgusting position, covered in lice, vermin, and bed bugs. Yeah. So to give this context, the last time his well-being was checked on was the 26th of October. So they're saying that they literally watched his health decline and did not administer any type of intercession or physical welfare check at all until he died.
It's crazy.
Which is mad. And I'm seeing a picture of his body. Is fucking disgusting, bro.
It's disgusting.
And this has been going on in the Fulton County Jail. Multiple people have died in the jail. Multiple people have asked for medical attention.
Right.
And it has just been refused. The jail is literally physically falling apart so much that stuff from the construction of the jail is being used to make weapons.
Hey, Miracle, wouldn't it be cool if they had some maybe $90 million sitting around that they could use to reconstruct the jail maybe?
They said that they spent $1 million for a research study that said, hey, you probably should get in the jail.
Oh, no.
A research study.
That's what they've been doing.
Oh, my God.
Jesus Christ.
That's a terrible, terrible situation. Trouble, did you have a comment?
Where do I even begin?
Where do you begin, man?
Because it's like, first off, it's sick to know that our lives don't matter in or out of the jail system.
100%.
Secondly, the fact that they spent $1 million on just research.
Right.
It's like, what are they going to do with that research? Just tell us, hey, we did research.
Yeah.
Here. And what action is that going to be followed with?
And the wild part is if we said, okay, so why don't you build a new state-of-the-art jail, they probably come back and say, we don't have no money. Oh, bro, I think you got $90 million over here.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? For something that people actually do not want, that will not benefit, particularly the black citizens of Fulton County, of Atlanta.
Yeah, and then it makes me wonder, why is it that training cops is far more important to them than rebuilding and making sure that the prison has what prisoners need. Right? 90 million to train cops versus 1 million just to do research on what could improve the jail.
Fascinating.
It's just foul to think how long it actually took bed bugs to kill somebody.
Yeah. Think about that.
That's disgusting.
And it's like, if you have to have CEOs you know what's happening.
You absolutely know.
And obviously, he's going to complain.
Yeah.
But it's that idea of the idea that you committed if you're black and committed crime, we don't care about you. Yeah. We don't care how you house. We don't care. We don't want you to get an education. We took that out of the prison. We don't actually want to rehabilitate you. We want to make sure if you come out, we don't want you to vote. Right. We want to really disenfranchise you from this system
the moment you come out.
But if you're white and a criminal,
you get pardons.
Yeah, America just opens up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the perfect example is that you have a former president, a criminal,
34 charges, 34 felony charges,
no mugshot.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Paraded around.
No handcuffs.
Media circus.
Yes.
Right. Able to go back to get on a plane.
Yes.
Not considered a flight risk. Go back to his mansion in Mar-a-Lago. Deliver a wild statement that had nothing to do with anything.
Attack the judge. Right.
And then call Letitia Williams in Atlanta a reverse racist, which is, comical at best.
Right.
and then still kind of go on this and call for World War III on his True Social account.
on Easter, by the way. Hey, with that Easter ham you got, how about some World War III?
You know what I mean?
And since we're talking about Trump, he wanted to hire a woman named Laura Loomer, who basically is an anti-Muslim activist. Laura Loomer, who has been kicked off multiple social, I guess that's probably Trump was like, well, I've been kicked off of social media, you've been kicked off of social media.
I'm telling you.
Hey, we got a lot in common.
He's trying to form the white supremacy dream team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's trying to get everybody he can.
The Avengers of white supremacy.
Like the Monstars in Space Jam, bro. Like, he out here, listen.
And Laura Loomer has actually came out and described herself as a white nationalist. Like, no, again, like, remember when Daniel was like, hey, I'm racist?
Yeah.
Like, she actually said, I'm a white nationalist. You know what I'm saying? And and that, like, that is a great resume, I guess, to work for Trump and Trump's team.
I mean, yeah, that's the ultimate feather in the cap, isn't it? Like, you know, that's the promised land. You know what I'm saying? That's mayonnaise heaven right there.
It said in 2018, she was barred from Twitter, but guess who brought her back?
Apartheid Musk.
100%. Apartheid Musk.
That's the new fragrance. That's Twitter's new fragrance. Apartheid Musk.
Miracle, what do you think about Laura Loomer being a part of Trump's white supremacist dream team?
I just feel like,
is she like the Rob Kardashian of the of the dream team?
I feel like we're just like in the bad place. I feel like
it's the upside down.
It's the upside down, the bad place. We deserve so much more as a society.
Maybe we don't, and that's why we're here.
No, I feel like we deserve more, but it's like the scraping in the bottom of the barrel at this point. But because media loves Trump, they have this fascination with Trump getting, their ratings and their numbers up. He just keeps giving them the worst of the worst of the worst.
Yes.
And he has the power to put in these policies. We still have not even dealt with the impact of the Muslim ban.
100%.
There's still families who are separated.
Yes.
People who are still trying to come back. People who are still trying to rebuild their businesses as a result of the Muslim ban. Yeah. And being kicked out of this country are not allowed to return in a timely fashion. And so having an absolute Islamophobic bigot come and to try to tell Trump what to do for domestic policy is really, really scary. And everyone should be like outraged and offended by this.
Right, that's what he wants. And just here's Laura in her own words. Quote, someone asked me, are you pro-white nationalism? Yes, I'm pro-white nationalism. But there's a difference between white nationalism and white supremacy. A lot of liberals and left-wing global Marxist Jews.
Whoa! I mean, I think you just crossed that line between white nationalists and white supremacists.
She crossed it in the very next sentence.
She said the quiet part out loud.
Right. And then she says, so this country really was built as the white... Wait, she said this country was really built as a white Judeo-Christian ethno-state, essentially.
Wait, what?
Over time, immigration and these calls for diversity is starting to destroy this country. You know, what's weird? I thought there was some type of statue outside of New York City.
That's it.
I thought there was a whole...
Bring me your tired, your poor.
Wasn't a whole bunch of black people just brought over on some boats
I know there's
prior
a whole,
to all of that?
indigenous community here
Yes.
before. But
wasn't there people here prior to...
But hold up. You can't teach that. So maybe she doesn't know.
That is true, yes.
Maybe she doesn't know. She might have went to one of them Florida schools. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
You cannot teach that. Lord have mercy. But you had mentioned, Miracle, about the fact that black people can be white supremacists. And if you said, like, whose face would go on, like, the $100 bill of white supremacy in blackface?
You say his name right.
It would be Clarence Uncle Thomas.
Yeah, Clarence Uncle Thomas.
Clarence Uncle Thomas. So we found out last week that Clarence's friend...
Clarence Uncle Thomas's friend.
His sugar daddy. Harlan Crow. Conservative
best supervillain name ever.
Mega donor Harlan Crow.
Harlan Crow sounds like a straight up Bob Kane DC villain.
And he is a villain. He was putting Clarence Thomas on private jets, flying him all over the world. He was getting flown out.
Yeah, flued out.
He was getting flued out. He was getting put in the finest of hotels. Clarence Thomas, as a judge, was supposed to disclose this. He was not. Well, come to find out that he also, Harlan Crow, purchased 3 properties belonging to Clarence Thomas and his family in a transaction worth more than $100,000. And guess what? Clarence Thomas ain't report that either.
He renovated the house and had his mama living in the house.
And Harlan Crow was the one that bought the house. I'm sure it was a profit that Clarence Thomas reaped. However, he chose not to. Will we see, Miracle,
No.
any... We won't see any type of coalition to call for Clarence Thomas, at least a questioning? Will he be questioned by Congress, something?
No. Because you got to think about it, like, no one wants to, quote unquote, remove the first one to remove.
Can I remove him?
A black Supreme Court justice.
Under the jail.
I will throw him right down the steps.
You also have to think about, I'm pretty sure that most of, Biden still has stuff going on with Hunter.
True.
Right? So he's a liability.
Yeah.
We know Roberts has his own dealings. Like, nobody wants to really fracture the Supreme Court right now. I think if Clarence had morality or dignity, he would just resign. But then that would give Biden the opportunity to put another Supreme Court justice. So he's not going to do it.
And if he had morality and dignity, he would have behaved differently from the beginning, right?
Technically,
he wouldn't be holding hands with Harlan Crow in the Garden of Eden. That's, you know what I mean? Like,
right, as they stroll past swastikas and Hitler's signed copy of Mein Kampf.
Yeah, like
he said those are personal gifts, and he wasn't aware, right? And so because of that, people have been calling it into question. Allegedly, I forgot, it's not Scalia, the other guy, allegedly leaked, the Roe decision to conservatives early.
Right.
So the Supreme Court has a really big legitimacy issue right now.
100%.
And people are just afraid that if they go off the Supreme Court, America will devolve into actual chaos.
Yes.
So they're not going to do anything. They're just going to be like, oh, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, until we actually have something that's like, hey, give me this gift and I'll rule this way. Nobody's really going to do anything.
Absolutely. So our Clarence Uncle Thomas of the week is actually Clarence Uncle Thomas.
I mean, who's more deserving of the title
100%
than Snowball from Django?
So, or Clarence Uncle Ruckus. I mean, you could call
Uncle
him.
Ruckus.
I do believe Uncle Ruckus was patterned after Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, he was.
At least in my mind, he was.
Like, he came to fame for sexually harassing a black woman.
That's what he did.
And
100%.
so he has been following the white supremacy playbook and has said, you know what?
Yeah.
I know what side my bread is buttered on, and I'm going to go with the money and I'm going to let stuff happen. And that's basically why he has the position and the power that he has, in addition to Jenny, causing all type of insurrection.
Absolutely.
He's just able to do what he wants.
He is. Now, we have segments on our show, and one of our favorite segments is we have a Karen of the Week on our show, right? Now, this week, we actually have a Ken and a Karen. Is the Ken the right name for the film?
And I think it's apt because the Barbie movie's about to come out.
Oh, yes.
So, we have a Ken of the Week and we have a Karen of the Week.
So our Ken of the Week is a coach, a Georgia football coach, who has trained several black student athletes, they say, and he has a sports thing that he helps athletes train to get into the NFL. He has been Coach of the Year for track 6 years in a row, according to his claims. And for some reason, he chose to get on Al Gore's internet on his own. He put
even leaked.
He put his own phone, or should I say Beyonce's internet, he put his own phone to his face and decided this is what he was going to share with the world on his very own.
Which one you want me to share?
Social media.
There's 3 videos of this.
There's a couple.
Pick one. Yeah.
All right, let's go with the middle one.
Which is more racist?
Yeah, right.
Try to pull out for me right here. Hey,
he's talking to a black woman.
Did you see that tree right there? Yeah. Did you see that tree right there? Roe will hang you from that tree. Yeah.
I think there's another one. Yeah, so he's talking to a black woman and saying, you'll get hung from this tree.
$129. Look at that. Nice. Look at that nice jacket. Laid out here on the bed for me. Nice. Columbia. Yeah. Columbia, yeah.
He's talking about a coat.
Got the Glock by the bed. And here we go. Room service. Y'all need y'all niggas to bring me some chicken wings, 2 hoes, a red bone and a white girl. Y'all want the white girl, Roe gonna try the red bone. No, Borf ain't coming. Yeah, he was here and everything. He make them leave. He make the red bone. Try to pull out in front of me right here.
Literally.
Yo, that's wild.
Yes.
Again, we didn't find this. This was a man who put this on his own social media. Miracle.
Something about this enrages me, the fact that black men who are trying to live their lifelong dream of being an athlete, even going to the pressure of being a student athlete.
Yes.
And he is the person that stands in between them and their goals and their dreams.
Absolutely.
It is enraging. And you're thinking about all of the things that black athletes have to go through. You know, they're told they can't protest. They can't talk about social justice issues on their own social media. And now we know one of the premier coaches in their league is a bigot who just, on a random Tuesday, just drives through the city of Atlanta and says, too much blackness going on, and I'm about to leave because I see a picture of Obama.
Yes.
I'm going to lynch this black person. And it says, nigga.
Like whatever. Yes. Part of his everyday vocabulary.
So you got to think about, what is he doing to these athletes when there's not a camera? Right. And what is he saying to them? Right? And then the fact that he always talks about instilling Christian values in his players. Like, how messed up. And we always talk about, I know y'all don't like it when I was defending AB, but we always talk about like how problematic a lot of these black athletes are. And now we're starting to understand like what they're going through. Yes. It just gives cause for so many questions. And the fact that none of these universities have really spoken down about the person they're paying hundreds of thousands it's just like oddly.
Has there been any consequences yet?
So here's a statement from Christian Fellowship Christian Academy.
Oh wow!
Central Fellowship Christian Academy. Equipping students to impact their world for Christ. We are shocked by the recent videos from Mark Taylor.
That's a lie.
That have circulated on the social media. We give no room for racism. With that said, we rented him a room.
You might not give it a room, but you'll give it a field.
With that said, people have associated Mark Taylor with our ministry, and that is an error. He is neither an employee of Central Fellowship Christian Academy nor a member of Central Fellowship Baptist Church. He has rented a portion of our facility to train athletes who are typically from our schools in our local area. This is why our address is listed as his business address for his training company. That relationship is ended, effective immediately in Christ, the board of directors. All right, go ahead, Christian Fellowship. In Christ.
God is love.
Let the church say amen.
But that's like fraud. Like we don't. He's not our employee. He's not associated with us.
Yes.
He just used our business address. Like, so is he getting like a tax refund for this? Is this a nonprofit organization that he's able to use your Christian Academy address for?
That's a great question. We have a bunch of questions, and then like I would love to know like who are the other athletes? Like where are these athletes that he trained, and what will they say? Hey, bro, y'all, hey, black athletes, if you watching This Week in White Supremacy this week,
hit us up.
For the love of God, do not defend this man. Facts. In no way, form of letting him just die a racist death and go into obscurity. Please don't come out and defend this man.
As you know, the Ken and the Karen of the week are always interesting topics.
Yes.
But this one right here, the Karen of the week, racist Karen gets pummeled. And this is how we're going to bring this in This Week in White Supremacy.
I had to beat a Karen ass cause she spit on me and told me I don't belong here. And it's my birthday today. Happy birthday to me.
Goddamn.
Now this is in a hotel.
Imagine if that would happen here.
At the White Privilege Club.
I'm checking out. I'm gonna slap her ass.
So in the video, this white woman just walks up to this black girl and tells her she doesn't belong there.
I don't care.
And she got the cop shades on too.
She walked by and spit on her.
Oh! She walked by and spit the black woman in the face, and then the black woman.
Beating her up.
She said free justice.
I bet you was sorry. Getting your ass whooped.
We love street justice.
And that was on her birthday. Like, that would be a nice birthday present, right? To get to give a Karen some of her own medicine, maybe.
Damn. Yeah, I would love to celebrate that way.
Look at Farouk. He's
I had to beat a Karen ass because she spit on me and.
Yo, because all you heard was.
He said free trains, and her camera phone did not move.
Ironically, I do have a story of being profiled at a white privilege conference, but we don't.
Yo, remember that?
We
That
do
was
not
hilarious.
have time for that because we have to introduce our Black Excellence segment. Speaking of white privilege, we have a segment on the show called Black Excellence, and today our Black Excellence is here live and in person. He is the founder of the White Privilege Conference. Can we bring on with a round of applause, Dr. Eddie Moore?
Come on.
I feel like the black and yellow represent the. I feel like you needed some intro music, man. We gotta put some.
Purple is my favorite color, so yeah.
Bigger than me, Big Sean. Cue it up.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Moore, and if you could just lean a little bit into that microphone, my brother.
I'm here.
A lot of times when we say, like, hey, we're going to be at the White Privilege Conference, sometimes people like stop in their tracks. Sometimes their eyes go glossy. Yeah. They're not aware of a White Privilege Conference. Specifically, like, this is the 24th White Privilege Conference that has been going on for 24 years. So tell us, like, what was the genesis of you? What made you want to start this conference? How did it begin? And where do you see it now in its 24th year?
Honored to be here with y'all, for sure. Listen, because of my name, Eddie Moore, and White Privilege Conference combined, people may not picture my face when you...
Listen, I had no idea. I had to ask him.
When I was not
expecting you.
When Eddie Moore first contacted me in 2012 via Facebook to be at the White Privilege Conference in Albuquerque, I just assumed that you are white. Dr. Eddie Moore, I just assumed he was white. Yeah. When I saw this brother suited up, looking great, looking sharp, I was surprised. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, and it's important because of the history, the presence of black leadership.
Yes.
And black excellence when it comes to this event is so critical.
Yes.
And so it's almost, to me, injurious when I feel like people think the only mind that could come up with something like this is white mind.
Yeah.
Come on.
So that's one side of it. And then the other side is, white supremacists are like pretty excited, like, woo!
Yes.
There's something for us out there, right? Like, that's a misconception that people, if they don't see my face and they hear white privilege.
So have you had white supremacists come to the conference?
Like they're going to show up thinking it's like a Nazi type thing.
Yeah, so I've had people who could be potentially hosts of the conference or in the city where the conference is going to be reacting in a way concerned that it could be bringing white supremacists there. Now, we've had that message y'all received. I've been receiving that message since 1999.
I'm sure.
Good for you.
And so when you think about the history of the conference, it's just been really interesting from the vantage point of black leadership.
Was there like one singular moment that caused you to say, man, I'm starting the White Privilege Conference, man. This is crazy. This is what I got to do.
Yeah, the real catalyst, I got to say to people, I didn't grow up thinking, hey, someday I'm going to be the black guy who founds the White Privilege Conference, right? This was not in my aspiration.
One day I'm going to bring together white people to talk about themselves.
Let's put a footnote on that white people piece, because that's another misconception, that this conference is just for white people. I'm going to come back to that.
Yes.
I'm going to come back to that. But it's important to understand this is divine. This is a divine seed. All right? This is something given to me from something far greater than me.
Yes.
So I wasn't planning this. And so I feel like, especially as a crackhead with a PhD, somebody who's had to overcome some pretty astronomical hurdles to even be alive today.
Yeah.
Get a second chance at life. And really my theme is not to blow that. not to mess that up. And so having that second chance, and really as I was moving through my master's degree and early on, even in my PhD, I think where I wanted to be was coaching football in the athletic world. My PhD research was on black football players, right? So that was really the kind of spectrum, the area I saw myself. And I think in the earliest days of presenting as a young scholar, trying to get some work out there, my very first PhD class, I had a white woman, in fact, Dr. Michelle Young, say to us, "You're not committed to diversity if you're not factoring in white supremacy, white privilege, and other forms of oppression."
Wow.
That was that seed of academic knowledge that really inspired me to do every research paper around that topic. So when I was doing my research, I'd be trying to present at conferences or going to conferences, and I'd be talking about, hey, this ain't a commitment to the work. Y'all not even talking about white supremacy, white privilege, other forms of oppression. I mean, I was like the pariah of the education environment. I mean, there was a few of us out there talking about white supremacy, right? I mean, I felt like a little kid with an imaginary friend in these educational arenas because I was talking about something that folks didn't seem really was important. People be like, we believe in diversity, but I don't know about this white supremacy thing. It was like almost like we're going to throw the party, but I know somebody we don't want there. And so it was really in the last 5 years, Dylan Roof, some of these Charlottesville, right?
Kyle Rittenhouse,
right.
Donald Trump's presidency.
Donald Trump.
It's really been
Clarence
in the last
Thomas.
5 years, fam, that I felt like redemption. Like shit, finally.
Yeah.
This is what Dr. Eddie been talking about, white supremacy, white supremacy. So I feel like now you see, Ellen mentioning white supremacy, some of these other kind of commentators. I mean, I see people doing diversity work, white supremacy work now that I feel like was pushing against me back in 1999. It's like a more popular embracing coming along with the work now, but early on. Let me just answer quickly, though, the piece around, I think, what did it. And that is, when I was going to these conferences, I just didn't feel like there was something for those of us who were committed to diversity work to get pushed. There was no CrossFit diversity course. Right? That's the way I describe this. Where does your yoga teacher go to yoga?
Wow.
Right? Who pushes the practitioner?
Yeah.
Right? So I wanted to create a space where there was a real rigor in the content.
Wow.
Like you can't come here just because you read a book or read an article.
Yeah.
You got to do a little bit more work. And then secondly, as y'all know, these last 10, 15 years, there's been a lot of white people doing diversity work, making bank.
Yes.
Hey, we were just talking about that yesterday.
Right?
Yes.
So where do they go to get trained? I tell people bringing speakers in all the time, make sure you ask your speakers where they've done their training this year.
True.
Right? Don't just hire them because they wrote a book.
Yeah.
Or an article, or they can give some good oratorical performance from the stage.
Yep.
Are they doing the work? And so we wanted to also have this white privilege conference space be a place where speakers come share their work,
right?
But they also have to do their work. So you can't be a speaker that comes in for one day, present, and leave. And so our requirement that you're here 2 days at least, because we want you sharing, but also doing the work. So that's been kind of the big picture of the metamorphosis. Now, where we at now? I mean, it's an interesting time. Now, y'all been talking about that already. I mean, now we got, shows called This Week in White Supremacy.
Absolutely. Come on. Inspired by. Inspired by the white privilege.
Right? So you wouldn't believe how many people have tried to get us to change this title, though.
Bro. Yeah. If I had a nickel for every time I've been asked,
of course,
why is it called the White Privilege Conference?
That's an actual genuine question that I have is why is it called the White Privilege Conference?
Yeah, because the signal is rigor.
Okay.
Right? It's like Spanish 401. Right? It's like calculus. Right?
Okay.
When you hear those subject matters, you know you got to come with some knowledge.
I failed the same math class 3 times.
Right? Right? It's like they usually have these PX, P90, exercise, all curriculums seem to have an advanced level track. The only area where I didn't feel like there was advanced level was diversity. It's like kumbaya. Everybody's got to feel nice. Everybody's got to feel okay.
That's a fact.
And I was like, nah, fam, we got to make sure that there's a space when people are ready to go beyond Diversity 101. They can get challenged. They can have some rigor. So the White Privilege Conference signals rigor.
Okay.
Now, it's important to understand, too, just because it says White Privilege Conference, it's not just white privilege we're looking at.
Right.
Now, I want to go back to that question I asked,
Yes.
I mentioned earlier, because a lot of people think, oh, is it just for white people? And I was like, no, it's, y'all mentioned this earlier, right? It's not just white folks being injured by white supremacy or participating
Yes.
in white supremacy.
Or upholding, champion.
Or upholding white supremacy, but also having to recover, having to navigate. Right? Like, who gave you skills to work in a place designed by white people for white people? Who gave you the understanding of how you take care of yourself when every day you got to make some kind of cultural adjustment, whether it's your hair, whether it's your language, whether it's your dress? Like, you do that every day at work for years after years after years. Like, who are you? So this conference is not only a space where white folks get pushed and challenged, but also for folks of color to understand the impact, the injurious effect of how white supremacy can be devastating to us day to day, every day as well.
Okay.
I'm through.
Beautiful.
Man. Thank you. Yeah.
So this year we're in Mesa. Was there, because, I mean, you know, one of the things we haven't talked about in Arizona is, like, Arizona has its very own, like, Trump election denier, right? Like, is it Carrie Lake? Is that her name? Arizonians that has basically lost the race for governor, but still hasn't conceded, still is running around here like it was taken away from her. She might even possibly be black.
Yeah,
like,
she's like reverse Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah, it's just like, it's fascinating. But what made you want to come to Mesa, Arizona this year?
Yeah, the conference usually goes to cities where people want us there.
Yes.
So folks will come to the conference, experience the conference, and say, hey, we want to bring the conference to our city. And so we've had a couple people, specifically Rory Gilbert and Jackie Starks, who've been coming and supporting the White Privilege Conference for Jackie, I mean, almost 10 plus years, and Rory close to that. So it's been those two primarily that have said, we want to bring that conference to Mesa.
Yeah.
And then together we work with the people, find the people. I mean, it's by the people, for the people. Yeah. We try to make sure that we have some local participation as well as our national, international community in reference to folks coming to the conference. So it's a combination of people that really make it happen. But it's work, man. I mean, can you imagine when you decide to bring it to your city, then you got to explain it to somebody.
True.
Right? You got to recruit people to come.
Absolutely.
So it's not like bringing the greatest diversity conference ever to exist on the planet to your conference, to your city, right? I mean, I think it's that.
Yes.
And if I change the name to that, I'd probably get a little bit more robust participation from folks. But I tell you, this year, actually, in reference to support, particularly sponsors, I think we've had our greatest showing ever.
Yes.
And so I think part of it has been a real commitment, a real kind of supportive community effort that has allowed us, even post-pandemic, to stay alive.
Yeah.
To stay alive. And I was thinking like Ellen about 2 years ago, maybe it's time to retire. I mean, 25 years, maybe America's healed itself from white supremacy. We don't need the conference anymore.
Which America you looking at, brother?
Things are better, right?
There's some bizarro America we haven't seen,
right? Right? So I used to think maybe it's time to, throw my gators up on the clothesline and be done. But I think more and more I look at where we come, where we are today. I think we can use another 25 years for the White Privilege Conference.
At least.
But it's going to be interesting as we look at what's on the horizon. Right? Y'all just laid out just some things from this last week.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it seems like every day something's popping up on our feed or in our messages. So just really trying to make sure that we stay relevant in reference to the content, but also we're bringing young people, some young energy, some new ideas, but also reminding people of color, this is not just a space for white people.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke yesterday to high school students from around the country that are here as high school students. really examining what privilege means and examining that's rigorous. That's very powerful. You had a question, Miracle?
Yeah, you talked about the international part of this. I think that's very fascinating because a lot of times people like to regulate white supremacy to like an American construct. Can you just talk a little bit about like why that is so important, especially as we see this global rise of populism?
Yeah, that's so good, so good. And, the only time we had people in full Ku Klux Klan regalia out in front of the conference protesting is when we were in Toronto, Canada, at Ryerson University, it was called.
Wow, that just hurt my feelings. But yeah, I mean Ryerson. There was definitely.
I know it's good. Were they nice, apologetic Canadian Ku Klux Klan members?
Now listen, it's really interesting because in preparation, right? This is Toronto. It's so diverse.
Yes.
So
people think Canadians aren't racist, but the fact of the matter remains that like Toronto is a metropolitan city. Then there's Canada. Which is very much a white supremacist nation. It is virtually devoid of ethnic people outside of the indigenous people. A few cities outside of, there's Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Quebec City, Edmonton. That's really it. The rest of Canada is very homogenous.
Yeah, it's like going to Seattle, right?
Absolutely.
Like you get a little, possible diversity inside the city center, but once you get outside, it's like going to some of the places in the Midwest. You can go to Milwaukee, right? But then you go on the outskirts, right? So what's interesting, though, is how white supremacy, this is not an American phenomenon. To your question specifically, so it's like this is a global commodity that's got hundreds and hundreds of years of history. So I think for us to truly be in participation and collaboration around tackling the impact of white supremacy, it's got to be a global approach. And so we've been fortunate to have some folks coming in from the global community, but also hosting in global communities. And I think that's what's most important, because I don't know if I'll see the end of white supremacy. I'm not a big fan of white supremacy, y'all, but y'all, we got to at times sit in amazement. Like, these cats are like rappers, right? They creating.
Yeah.
They recreated.
True.
Right? It's like Nas back in the day when he was producing albums, it seemed like every month, right?
From like the Klan to like the Proud Boys to like, what are the other Truth Seeker, Oath Keepers and all of these. So absolutely, they popping up in very different ways.
Of Confederacy to
the Tea Party.
Yeah, all of that.
Absolutely.
All that. The Moms of Liberty.
Yeah.
Right? In all forms, across all spectrum, white supremacy stays busy. Stays creative, stays funded, stays supported. Okay? And my question is, as those of us committed to justice, are we just as busy?
Right.
Are we just as creative?
Yeah.
Are we supporting one another collectively, collaboratively? I think that's going to be our real test.
Absolutely.
As we look on the horizon, and not just domestically. Again, back to your question, sir. It's also got to be a global effort as well.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you. We decided to come and collaborate. And this is the first time we've ever been on the road with our podcast. Coincidentally, it, coincided with us getting a licensing deal on Free Speech TV.
Yes.
This is our first live podcast with our first live Black excellence in the flesh. Dr. Eddie Moore.
I appreciate that.
And so we do part of our podcast called White Pages, where, we coined the phrase "white" was a joke, but it's really like, a suggestion that was given us as like, could we suggest like reading? Or if somebody watches our podcast, they're inspired to go deeper into learning about white supremacy, learning about how systemic racism works. So do you have a book suggestion that you would encourage folks to read to deepen their understanding of white privilege in this conference?
Yeah, I would give two, and I want to do that because of the diversity in the two.
Yes.
One is Dr. Naeem Akbar, Breaking the Psychological Chains of Slavery.
Yes.
I think that book had a tremendous impact in my growth and expansion and thinking about the curriculum and program designing. Partnered with Dr. Joy DeGrew's Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, which I think is kind of the relative upgrade. I consider those one book.
Yes.
But the book that helped me also in my earliest development in reference to scholarship was Dr. Joe Fagan's The White Racial Frame. It is the book. Y'all remember, 1999, he was a black man, I'm pretty radical now. Y'all can imagine me 20 years ago, right? I mean, bro, I was putting the fire on him.
Yes.
Putting the fire on him.
Yes.
I was 3 years old.
Fam, I was coming at him, bro. Coming at him.
Okay.
And if you were 3 in the audience, I'd have been coming at you, too. You know what I'm saying? Fam, I was
Take that pacifier out your mouth. I'm here to tell you about white supremacy.
It was just not something that was well received from black genius.
Yeah.
From black excellence. Peggy McIntosh had a little something out there that was not always consumed, necessarily, but just received differently as a white woman.
Yes.
When I was bringing it, it was different. And Joe Fagan's White Racial Frame helped me to craft a way to deliver the message of white supremacy and the white privilege conference in a more developmentally appropriate framework.
Wow. So y'all got 3 books.
Yeah, 3 books, I would say.
3 books.
For sure.
So if you want to go learn more about the White Privilege Conference and where we're going to be next year, where do they go?
You go to theprivilegeinstitute.com. And so the Privilege Institute is our 501c3, our umbrella organization of the White Privilege Conference. And that's where we hold all our information about our programs, our events. And next year, our conference is going to be in... on the website a little bit later. So stick with
So
us.
go to theprivilegeinstitute.com.
That's right.
Theprivilegeinstitute.com. Find out where we'll be next year. We want to come wherever you are next year as well. We've been talking about some things, some music, an album, a soundtrack, all that stuff. You can also get your Got Privilege t-shirt at the Privilege Institute. We want to thank what's going on over there, y'all?
You just on your next level sus, as usual.
We all have to unlearn white supremacy to unlearn.
Yeah, I want to officially invite One Hood Free Speech TV.
Come on.
Every year to be broadcasting live at the White House. I think we want to set an example for future conferences to consider live broadcasts that keep it real. I mean, not that commercial stuff that people are doing to sell stuff. And let's talk about, we got people dying at the hands of white supremacy.
Absolutely, every day.
People killing and being set free.
Yes.
At the hands of white supremacy. And that needs to be known. I bet there's some folks who learned some stuff here today because of this live broadcast. And I just want to invite y'all, let's keep this partnership going.
Let's keep it going. Well, y'all heard it here first. So you have witnessed the inaugural, the first time live podcast at the White Privilege Conference, Mesa, Arizona, with Dr. Eddie Moore, with Miracle Jones, Esquire, with Trouble in LS, Never Love Supremacy, with Saeed, Supreme Asiatic, Intelligently Divine, and Jasiri X. See y'all next week. Peace. What hood, y'all?